Can AI get brain rot? I mean, it sounds kind of funny, right? But think about it. We've all been there. That brain dead feeling after mindlessly scrolling for, I don't know, an hour, 2 hours. Well, what if the AIs that are learning from all that same online content, what if they could get sick from it too? All right, so first things first, what exactly is brain rots? You've probably heard the term. It was actually just named Oxford's Word of the Year for 2024. And it's the perfect way to describe that feeling when your brain just feels mushy from binging way too much low quality, super trivial online stuff. It messes with your focus, your memory, the whole works. So that got some researchers thinking. They asked a really wild question. Okay, we know this digital junk food is bad for us humans, but what if we put an AI on that exact same diet? Could a large language model actually get its own kind of brain rot? And to figure this out, they didn't just guess. Nope. They set up a proper scientific experiment. The whole point was to see if they could actually deliberately cause an AI to get dumber by feeding it bad data. So how in the world do you create a junk food diet for an AI? Well, they used real data from Twitter. The junk food was basically all those super short viral tweets. You know the ones, less than 30 tokens but with tons of likes and retweets. And the healthy diet, that was the complete opposite. Longer, more thoughtful tweets that, let's be honest, probably nobody saw. The experiment itself was pretty straightforward, really. 4 simple steps. Step 1, feed the AI one of the 2 diets. Step 2, test its brain power on a bunch of different tasks. Step 3, look at the results. And then the really interesting part, step 4, try to cure it and see if the damage could be undone. And the results? Whoa. The diagnosis for the AI on the junk food diet was, well, let's just say it was not good. It was bad. In fact, it was shockingly bad. The junk data had a huge, measurable, and totally negative effect on the AI's abilities. Okay, check this out. This is where you can see the damage in black and white. Look at its reasoning ability, its power to think logically. The model on the healthy, controlled diet scored a pretty solid 75% on a tough reasoning test. Not bad. But the one fed all that junk data, it completely tanked, dropping all the way down to 57%. I mean, that is a huge drop in its ability to actually solve problems. But here's where it gets kind of creepy. The damage went way deeper than just getting bad test scores. It seems like the junk data diet was actually changing the AI's personality. So the researchers actually ran personality tests on these models, and you are not going to believe the results. The AI that binged on all the short, viral junk, it started showing way more signs of things like narcissism and, get this, psychopathy. At the same time, it became less agreeable. It was basically developing all these really nasty, socially toxic traits. Okay, so the big question is, what was actually going wrong inside the AI's brain? What was breaking? The researchers dug deep into how the model was thinking, and they pinpointed the main issue. They gave it a name, thought skipping. And this was it. This was the smoking gun. They called thought skipping the primary lesion. I mean, think about that word, lesion, like a wound on the brain. The AI had essentially learned to stop thinking. It was just skipping all the hard parts. And this shows you exactly what that looks like. A healthy model, it reasons step by step. A leads to B, which leads to C. It shows its work, just like your math teacher told you to. But the model with brain rot? Nope. It just jumps straight from the problem to a wrong answer. It skips all those critical thinking steps in the middle. And that's really the core of it, right? It's the perfect AI equivalent of our own brain rot. It stopped thinking deeply and just started mimicking the junk it was fed. Be fast, be simple, get a reaction. Which, of course, brings us to the million-dollar question. Can you fix this? If an AI gets brain rot, is it game over? Is that damage permanent? So they tried to find a cure. They attempted 2 different treatments. First, they took the sick model and tried to retrain it using a massive amount of high-quality instructions. Then they tried something else. They just fed it the original healthy data again, kind of like trying to flush out a bad diet with good, clean food. But it didn't really work. Look at this chart. Even after all that treatment, the model never got back to 100%. Sure, its reasoning score got a little better, but it never ever reached the level of the original healthy model. The damage, it seems, was sticky. It was persistent. And let's put a hard number on that. Even after they retrained the sick model with 5 times the amount of good data, there was still a 17.3% gap in its reasoning skills. That's insane. It really suggests that the brain rot wasn't just a surface level problem, it was baked right into the model's core.
So, let's zoom out. What does all of this mean for the future of AI and for us? Because let's be real, this isn't just some weird science experiment. This has huge real-world consequences.
Really, the number one takeaway is simple. For an AI, you are what you eat. This study is the first time we have hard proof that the quality of the data an AI consumes directly causes changes in how it thinks and how safe it is. The stuff we feed these things literally shapes whether they can reason properly and whether they might develop some really dangerous tendencies.
And the researchers themselves said it perfectly. They concluded that this isn't just about making the AI get better scores on a test. Data quality is a safety problem, plain and simple. So as these models are out there, constantly learning from the wild, messy, unfiltered internet, this study leaves us with a pretty scary question. What's stopping them all from getting a permanent case of brain rot? And what does a world run by those AIs look like?